Hey guys, and welcome back to the Green Witch Homestead. So it is the last week of January and the sun is out today, which we are getting close to when I need to start my seeds for all of my cold crops that are going to be going into the Victory Garden as well as the farmer's market. So things like kale, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, all the leafy greens and things that prefer to be growing in the colder weather, especially here in Missouri when it gets really hot in the summertime. I like to get them started early. So we're going to be going to the seed co-op today. I don't know if everybody has one. I think if you look, probably most counties do. It is run by the Amish in our area, so hopefully they will let me film it. I may not be able to film any of them, but I should be able to film. We also got to cut into one of our bacons that we made, have it for breakfast this morning, and it was pretty amazing. Let's get the day started and we're gonna go buy some seeds. This is our county's seed exchange. It's like a big farm store. You got all kinds of stuff. And they have a little greenhouse that they do some starts in, but mostly what they sell out here is bulk seeds for farms. If you're curious what a seed exchange or seed co-op looks like, look at these. So, blue like 5 pounds, blue like bush beans, 13 bucks. This is where you get your seeds if you're doing large amounts of growing like we do for the farmers market gardens, and smaller bags too, like so your typical bag grow seeds, but the prices are a lot better. Of course, being that it is in Amish country and it's a farm store, it's a great spot for homesteaders too, because you can get milking pails, the ones that are the nice with the seamless. You can get canning stuff, garden tools. They got everything here, and I love this place because it's not crazy expensive. It's not like a big box store brand name stuff, so you're not paying through your teeth for things that you need every day. This is my seed haul from our seed swap. It's about $40. I got some small packets, but as you can see, that's packed full of seeds, but they're pretty thick packs. So I got butternut squash, some watermelon radish, some Georgia collards, some lettuce, kales, a couple new types of cauliflower to try, some Armenian cucumbers, and then a couple new F1 hybrid tomatoes that I want to give a try. And then of course I got my big garden supply. We got some radishes. There's our Copenhagen cabbage. Won't have to buy cabbage seed for a couple years now. We got some beets and 40,000 carrots approximately. Find you a seed swap or seed co-op. Most counties should have them if you look, especially if you have a big farming community. Ask a local farmer, see if they know where the seed co-op is, because you're not up in their prices for little packets. They're selling to farmers who are having to do fields worth of crops. So you can get a lot more seeds for a really good price, and they're good quality seeds. I got my seed starting mix, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on some of the plants that we need for our Victory Garden this time of year, as well as all of the cool crops I'm going to be putting in for our market garden. If you guys watched any of last week's video, we went into the layout of the Victory Garden, you'll know that some of the crops are cool weather crops. So the ones that are going down first are things like collards, kale, lettuces, cabbages, stuff like that. So those are things that you really want to get started. Basically what you want to do is you want to figure out when your area's last frost date is. And there's a lot of different things people say, like, oh, check your zone, blah, blah, blah. Just go onto Google and type in last frost date and then put your zip code. It will tell you the exact day that is your last frost date. And then what you do after that is you take today's date and you type into the Google search bar how many days are between today's date and your last frost date. And then you will know how many weeks you have before you can plant out in your garden. That's the biggest thing when you're doing any type of gardening, is knowing how many weeks there are between today and when it's safe to put plants out in the garden, because we're past our last frost. So for me in my area, this is the time to be starting things like cabbages, broccolis, cauliflowers, kale, leafy greens, all that fun stuff. It's also time to start sweet potatoes. If I was doing onions from seed, I would already have them going. There's lots of other little things that we do, but we're going to focus mainly on what the Victory Garden required. So what I'm doing today is I've got my seed starting mix, and I've got some of my 10-20 trays from Bootstrap Farmer. I've got this one here, this little insert, and this is what I'm going to do all of my lettuces in, because they don't require too much. I'll make little plugs, and then I can take the lettuce plugs out and put them into my green stalk or into the rows in the garden. The other one that I have also from Bootstrap Farmer, and that's this one here. It's a little bit bigger, and both of these fit into the 10-20 trays. They get the nice little set in there for bottom watering. We're going to fill those up with soil and get our seeds in for our cabbages and all that fun stuff. The key to a good seed starting mix is a lot of aeration and fluffiness and small pieces. You don't want a potting soil when you're starting seed. Potting soil will have big chunks of wood in it, or rocks or pebbles, things like that, and that's going to be a little difficult for seeds to start in. That's going to make too many air pockets where they can get lost, or too many big things that they can't grow around. And air pockets for seedlings can spell out certain death, because it's going to be hard for them to get their roots through. They want to be growing in the soil, not in an air pocket. A good seed starting mix is actually usually doesn't have any soil in it at all. This is a combination of peat moss, perlite, vermiculite, and probably a little bit of coconut coir. This is dry, so I'm going to tap it down a little bit. You see how it's sunk a little? Make sure I get nice and full on this tray. So once you have your tray nice and full with your dry starting mix, what you're going to do is you're going to wet it. Now, some people like to wet it beforehand and put it in the pots that way. I found it's easier to put it in dry and then soak it down, because it's going to let it kind of settle, and you're going to see just how much soil you have in the pots and be able to add more if you need it. So you're going to soak it down, top it off if you need it, and then once your soil is nice and wet and ready for seedlings, then you plant. We've got it wet, and some of them, like this one here, how it sunk down quite a bit, it's because it had an air pocket in it and the water kind of let it settle. So we now know that we have to top this off just a little bit. And if you put a good amount in and did the tapping down while you were filling the trays, you shouldn't have too many like that. So it shouldn't be too much. But basically just grab a little more soil and drop it in there. So the seeds that I'm going to be starting right now are going to be my market cabbage, my red sales leaf lettuce, this white magic cauliflower. It's supposed to be a larger head, and it's supposed to be self-blanching. The other one that I got is for fun. It's an F1 hybrid cauliflower. This one is designed to kind of look like Romanesco broccoli. If you've ever seen it, it's got that kind of really neat, pretty Christmas tree fractal pattern in the way that the buds grow. So this is a cauliflower that does that same thing. I'm going to give this one a try. My blue curled Scotch kale, our Georgia collard. The collards I'm probably only doing in the Victory Garden, because I never have had that much success selling collards at the farmer's market. People just aren't quite sure what they're for, which is weird, especially because I live in Missouri and most people know what collard greens are. They're just used to seeing it in a can. So I'm still trying to teach people how to make collards from fresh greens, but as of right now, it's pretty much just something that I enjoy. One of the most important things to remember when you are starting seeds is to label everything, especially if you're doing it for a market garden, because nothing is going to upset a customer more if they buy something and take it home and grow it and become something else. So whether you're selling the vegetable or the plant starts, make sure that everything is labeled nicely. I have these markers. I actually got this pack at the dollar store. They were a couple bucks, and they are glass writing markers or chalkboard markers, and they write on these Bootstrap Farmer trays really well. So here's like a plant tray, and you can see it's very easy to see. When it's wet, it'll rub off pretty easily, but once it dries, it does stick on there a little better. It's easy to see, so I can just mark directly on the trays. So when I'm doing the seedling starts, I will draw like a line, and I have my rows separated and write on the side what is in that. One of the things that I wanted to show too, like with these packs of seeds, that's a lot of seed. So if you're doing like a big garden, that's going to be way more kale than you're going to need for the next couple of years. So I'm doing 18 plants here. These are going to be for the market garden, and I use my kale, I don't sell the whole plant, I use it like a cut and come again. I'm probably going to start some more kale a little bit later in the season to sell as plant starts at the first few spring markets. Right, and once you have all of your seeds in, when you're doing small seeds like this, you just kind of put them on the top of the soil and then very, very lightly cover them. This side with the lettuces, they're very much like a grass seed, so I don't cover them at all. I just kind of let them settle a bit as I water. But the kale and the cabbage seeds, I've pat the soil down and I've put the seeds in, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more soil and just sprinkle it on top. Now that I've got all my cold crops started for the market gardens and the Victory Garden, we're just going to put them on the light rack and let them do their thing. Another thing that you can do if you don't have an inside space for starting cold crops that should be getting started fairly soon is you can make yourself little window boxes or little things that you can plant outside in. So cold crops, they can stand a little bit of the cooler temperatures. So one of the things that you can do is you can get some bales of straw and make a little square where you have space in between surrounded by the 4 bales, and then get some old windows and just kind of set it on top, and then you can plant in that space and the windows will keep it nice and warm. Or you can even use an old clear plastic tote, and then you would just plant your starts out in your soil and put that tote right on top, and it in fact effectively makes a tiny little greenhouse. That way you can start them when there's still snow on the ground. So those are some other options that you can do if you don't have an indoor space. Well guys, that's pretty much what we've got going on for right now for getting the garden started. Spring is coming soon, and the plant season is coming soon, market season is coming soon, and there's so much that's about to start happening again that I'm gonna have lots to do and lots of things to share with you guys. I hope you're just as excited as I am to start getting plants in the ground and moving forward with our next garden season. Give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the little bell notification so you know whenever we upload, so you can keep following along with the Victory Garden updates and tips and tricks. And remember guys, get out there and get your hands dirty.